Hello, ho ho ho. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's putting up the tree and putting some presents underneath it, all that shit. Anyway, it's that time of year. So basically, man, pretty much every year for the past 10 years, Gene Simmons has an interview where he reiterates the fact that he believes rock is dead. So let's see what he has to say. I think it's probably pretty similar to the last time he said this. This wonderful article from metalinjection.net. All right, so Kiss, Gene Simmons says, quote, rock is dead. It is. And people don't understand how I can say that when we all have our favorite songs and we love our favorite bands, you and I and everybody else. But what I mean is that let's play a game, and I've done this before. From 1958 until 1988, that's 30 years. 30 years. So what came during that period? We had Elvis, the Beatles, the Stones, Hendrix, Floyd, David Bowie. In the disco world, you had Madonna. You had AC/DC. He's just fucking rambling. You had Aerosmith. You had Motown. You had Prince. It was a rich musical menu. You had prog bands. You had Yes, Genesis, Gentle Giant. You had the heavy bands. You had Led Zeppelin. Who are the new Beatles? All right, so he goes on to say, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he's talking about how he met some girl who had a Rolling Stones shirt and didn't know who the Rolling Stones were. I find that a little hard to believe, but I guess not. I mean, look, honestly, dude, this will piss people off. I think Gene's correct in the sense that rock is no longer really culturally relevant, other than as like a nostalgic sort of vehicle. What I mean by that is yeah, you'll have throwback shit like Stranger Things, where it's like, oh, look, it's I remember these types of people, the metalheads, blah blah blah, shit like that. I remember this song, or like American Horror Story, which I don't watch because I think it's like, not to be mean, but I think it's like a girls show. But it'll be like, oh, I remember Animotion, Obsession, and shit like that, which I think is probably better than a lot of pretty much any new radio song. Honestly, I like a lot of 80s pop hits actually. But anyway, man, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people will be like, no, right, rock's not dead, metal's not dead because there's people playing it. But the thing is, man, the people playing that shit are playing music that sounds like it came out 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it's not the dominant form of popular music anymore. It really hasn't been since, I'd say, around like 99, 2000, 2001, when you had a period where the dominant mainstream rock had fused with hip hop. Obviously, we know it as nu metal, and we all know that shit sucked. And then Eminem kind of gave white suburban teenagers who, traditionally teenagers are the record buying public. They're setting the trends, they're deciding what's popular, this and that. And Eminem, I think, in my opinion at least, kind of brought hip hop into the homes of, like the suburban pasty white kids who listen to hip hop today. So and pretty much since then, man, I'd say that hip hop, EDM, and pop have been the like the dominant mainstream forms. Now you could argue that there's a lot of, obviously artistic stagnation and that sort of shit anyway. But it seems to move quicker. It seems like, hip hop has trends at about the same rate that rock music and metal music and punk music used to have its own little trends. Like you'd have something that was like, for example, like hard rock was like a late 60s, early to mid 70s thing. And then you had heavy metal and like the early punk rock shit and like the late 70s, early 80s. Then, you got hardcore from about 81 to 87. You got fucking thrash from about 83 to around 1990. So I mean, you used to have those little blocks there, and then there's plenty of other things going on at the same time, and I mean, yeah, there's still prog rock, there's still metal, there's still punk rock, but even a lot of the shit I like, man, I'll listen to it and be like, oh, hey, this sounds like Morbid Angel, this sounds like this band, this sounds like this band, so just because people are playing it, it's kind of like with jazz, man. People will be like, jazz isn't dead. Well, it kind of is, man, because if you go see a jazz band, they're playing standards from like the fucking 40s, 50s, 60s, or they're playing like a type of fusion, which was really already done back in like the 70s, early to mid 80s, you know. Now, that doesn't mean it's not enjoyable or cool to listen to, but hell, I think Gene's right in a way, man. Now, you know, obviously people don't, no one likes to admit, like, especially younger music fans, man, they don't like to admit that something they've dedicated their lives to and that something they've based their entire wardrobe and aesthetic and philosophical outlook on, they don't want to admit that it's actually not really all that relevant anymore, you know. And me saying this, that doesn't mean I'm about to, you know, jump ship and just start listening to fucking Ice Spice and Little Nas X and fucking you know, Megan the Stallion. I mean, all that shit sucks, obviously, but you know, that's what the kids are into. You know, if they're into music at all, I think that TikToks and shit like that are probably, and like podcasts. I've noticed that a lot of kids they'll be talking about, you know, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, like those that whole douche crew, Rogan, you know. So that's what the kids are into now, man. Elon Musk, they like him. You know, I saw a while back, I saw this young, really young dude wearing an Elon Musk t-shirt at work. Kind of like how like 15, 20 years ago, you'd see someone wearing a band t-shirt, you know, well, this guy's, he's a fan of, you know, Musk, you know, that's his favorite, public figure, I guess. So it's interesting stuff, man. Just for the sake of argument, you know, I'm going to say Gene's totally correct, you know, and I know there's going to be someone in the comments like, nah, man, haven't you heard of fucking King Gizzard or some shit? It's like, yeah, you mean that band that is entirely influenced by a small pocket of late 60s, early 1970s bands? Yeah, I've heard of them, you know. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think, man. Hey, you know, keep rocking, keep listening to it, buy merch, blah blah. But you know, the revolution's over, and I mean, really, dude, you know, rock had a good run, you know, commercially and shit like that. I mean, I'd say, let's say from 1964 to around what the mid 90s. I mean that's a good run. You know, it didn't really overstay its welcome. You know, and it's still around, but let's just be real. Like, just be real. You know, you're never going to have a situation where like the entire high school has like a canon. You know what I mean? CANON. You know, that musical. You know, like how everyone of a certain age group owned Led Zeppelin 4. Everyone of a certain age group owned, for example, Thriller or something like that. And then 10 years later, you had Nevermind, you know, not speaking as to whether or not any of those records are good or not, you know, that's up to you. But there was like a shared musical fabric between the culture. And I guess that's one thing about the internet, man, is there's not like one piece of media that everyone has gravitated to. So it's kind of, in a way, you've had these little like niche areas that have been strengthened, but you're also never going to have a band that's got like the type of production value of like a fucking uh, like Who's Next or, you know, Steely Dan Asia, something like that. You know, it's very interesting. So let us know in the comments, man, and have a great day.